Alright, everybody. Dragon Watcher here. This is the secondary channel for my, this is me, Dragon Defender, but this is my second channel. So, first video for the second channel. I wanted to actually read chapter 1 of my book. Now, interestingly enough, chapter 1 was actually not written by me. This was written by a good friend of mine. Her username was Dragon. I have a whole video on it on my other YouTube channel, actually, about our friendship. Yada yada. It does also kind of discuss a little bit about the book, but I just wanted to kind of discuss a little bit of what this book series is like, as well as also show you some of the characters that do show up. I'm still working on it, the characters, because the AI art thing I was using to kind of draw up a general idea of what they look like before I, have I will have an actual artist draw my characters and stuff. But I wanted like an AI thing just to kind of get a little bit of an idea. So I'll show you a few of what at least the AI art drawings are. Although the original AI app I was using got removed from Play Store, and I'm trying to find another one that's equally as good. I just haven't found one yet, but anyways, let's just get right into it. So I don't actually have a title for my book series yet. I have an idea for what it might be called. I'm not gonna say anything official until it's done. So, be that as it may, obviously, copyright stuff is being worked on right at this moment. So, please don't try to steal this, because in at least a week's time I'll hear back, and hopefully the copyright thing will go through, because I'm basically about done with this. So, it's a bit of a process. I don't know exactly how it all works, but we're figuring it out. Anyways, I'm gonna read this off. Nyx's first memory was cries of pain and fear. She crawled over to her twin brother, who was only 5 at the time. Nyx hugged him, muffling his cries with her shoulder as the soldiers rampaged and destroyed what was once their home. They sat there, hidden only by a few tipped-over statues of their ancestors, for 5 hours. When the soldiers were finally done, leaving their town in ashes, Nyx slowly guided her brother out. There, the town lay dead. But it was their home, and it was their home that they would stay. It was 5 years later, and Nyx was trying to find food for her brother. "Don't go that way," she told him. "There's traps and you'll fall in." "So what? I have powers and you don't," he said. Just as he did, he let out a yelp of surprise. Nyx turned around to see him dangling in the air, suspended by a rope around his foot. "Uh-huh," Nyx said. "The power of getting caught. And plus, my thing is supposed to, activate after a while, I think." "Oh, shut up," he said, cutting the rope and falling down. "If you had actually looked, there's a marking on the trees they put traps on," Nyx said, pointing to a notch cut into the bark. "This was a trap for people. 2 dots are animals. So, you would have been taken and used for whatever purpose they wanted." He continued walking with her, defeated. Nyx held the bag, now bulging with fruit, in front of her. "Think this is enough?" she asked. "Should be," he said. Suddenly, voices sounded in the distance. Nyx grabbed her brother's arm and ducked behind a bush, shoving him down with her. "What are we hiding for?" he began to whisper. "Hunting groups go in pairs of 10 or more," Nyx whispered. "You can't be hurt." "I'm just as powerful as you," he protested. "Shh. And no, you're not. Remember, the soul of the dragon? It went from Pa to me. I can take more hits than you," Nyx said. "How do you even know they're bad guys?" he continued, beginning to ignore the fact the soldiers could hear him. "You say everyone's bad. You never even let me leave without you. You know what? I don't care. I don't care anymore." Nyx looked to the side to see a pair of soldiers walking towards their hiding spot hastily. "Not good. I say this with all the love I possibly can, brother." "Shut up," she whispered. "No," he said loudly, jumping up. "And I don't care about your gifts anymore." He threw down the fire opal blade Nyx had gotten out of the ashes for him, and she caught it before it shattered on a rock. "Hey! No! Let go! Let go of me!" He began to scream as one of the soldiers carried him away. "Nyx, help me out here!" was the last words that had been screamed at her, before the soldier put his hand over his mouth. Nyx snatched the blade out of its sheath and stabbed the soldier trying to get her, snatched the blade out, and ran as he crumbled to the ground. She chased after the soldiers, but they had her brother on a horse before she could even get close. Nyx fell to her knees, numb sadness spreading through every vein in her body. "They're gonna kill him," she thought hopelessly. "I let them get to him. I killed him." From that day on, Nix only focused on searching for her brother. She took to wandering to different towns, camps, and other places until 2 years later, where she finally accepted he was gone. Nix continued to wander, however, looking for the faces of her brother's kidnappers. She had grown numb to any human-like emotion and was simply a husk of her former self, wandering the places her world had to offer. She had also grown to despise her birthday, considering it was indeed her brother's as well, and it only reminded her of her own failure. One particular event, a week after Nix had turned 16, she was wandering in a particularly shady part of one of the towns she had yet to have checked. Nix was listening out for any commotion that may draw her, and as luck might just have had it, she could hear some noise being made in an alley, just in front of where she was walking. Nix walked into the alley and saw a boy, about her age, probably, his blonde hair slightly spattered in blood, and his green eyes fluttering in slight exhaustion. Wonder if he's gonna faint or something, Nix thought, watching at the entrance of the alley. Her mind devoid of any empathy, he began to slump against the wall, and slowly the others began to take advantage of this. And after a few hits, one threw him to the ground, while the metal pipe he was holding was thrown and rolled about 10 feet in front of him. "Hey, you," he shouted, seeing her standing there. "Help me out here." Nix hesitated for only a second, remembering her brother's last words to her. "Why do I have to do this?" she thought, moving to get her brother's blade out of its sheath, only to discover it wouldn't budge. "It's stuck," she cursed. "Now that I think of it, I have nothing left to live for." "Ha!" Nix thought, and decided to go in without a weapon. She grabbed one of the smaller ones and threw him to the ground, kicking him square in the nose and probably knocking him out. Nix dodged one coming at her with a knife, twisted his arm, and shoved his own blade into his heart, pushing him away as well. Nix snatched the other guy by the hair and banged his head into the wall 3 times before shoving him to the floor, and looked up to see the biggest guy advancing towards her, a knife in his hand. Nix was backing away when her foot bumped into something with a metallic thump. She looked down, saw the pipe, and kicked it across the floor to the guy on the ground, and he took it, getting up and swinging it to hit the other guy in the back of the head. Nix then twisted and shoved the guy advancing towards her, pushing him forwards. The guy that was once fallen on the ground, beaten and bruised, hit down on the guy's head with the pole, as his back was turned towards both of them. As he slowly turned around, he threw the pole to land in Nix's hands. "She did it," he said, pointing to her. "This dude," she thought. Nix didn't have time to say anything before the guy lunged towards her, and she whammed the pole into the side of his head, blood beginning to flow from his ears. She shoved the tip of the pole into his stomach, pushing him back and onto the ground. "Thanks," the boy said, holding the pole on the ground and putting his weight on it. "Mm-hmm," Nix said. "What's your name?" he asked. "Nix. You?" "Atten," he responded with a friendly smile. "Nice to meet you, Atten. Good luck with whatever you were doing here," she said, walking away. Nix remembered that day with some odd detail. She would remember it at random times, especially when she had nothing to think of. Like, for example, about 2 years after that very day, Nix had gotten into a rather nasty fight and had crawled onto a roof for safety after fatally stabbing her opponent. Then, right when she had least expected it, the roof broke beneath her and she fell to the ground. Nix's calf, in result, had been punctured by a sharp metal spike that had been sticking out of the ground. So, Nix had been sitting there, her back propped up on a wooden plank, staring at her leg, for around 2 days, through both the rain and the freezing cold. She was beginning to accept her fate when she heard footsteps crunching on the leaves outside the shattered window that was beside her. "Who's there?" she called in a raspy, dry voice, putting her hand on her brother's blade. Suddenly the footsteps quickened, and a face Nix recognized to be Atten's appeared behind the window, only visible by the moonlight. "Atten? Is that you?" she asked, squinting. "Nix?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "What are you doing in there?" he asked. "I fell through the roof a couple days ago," she said, "and now I got a rod in my leg." "And you were just gonna lay there?" Atten asked, shoving his arm through the broken window pane and locking the window and crawling inside. "Yeah, probably," Nix said. "I got no family to live for," she thought, "so what's the point?" "How can I fix this?" he asked, kneeling. Nix pushed herself up and leaned on her arms. "Well, I did something to stop the bleeding, so a cloth and a stick so I could walk." Anything to heal you? Agton asked, snatching a piece of the torn curtains. I heal fast on my own, Nick said. So, I'm gonna need you to give me the cloth. Just get a stick and help me walk after I do this. Sure thing, Agton said, but what are you gonna... Nix grabbed her foot before he finished talking and yanked it straight up, and the gaping hole in her leg immediately started to bleed. She wrapped it up quickly with the rag and tied it tight. Blah, blah, blah. My goodness, I butchered this part. She wrapped it up quickly with the rag and tied it tight, a bit higher from the wound, and looked up at Agton. I'm gonna need something if you want me to walk, Nick said. Right, Agton said, picking up a tree's branch that had fallen in the house. Nick stood, and Agton began to help her out of the house. There we go. That is chapter 1. Alright, that is how chapter 1 is. There's no prologue. I didn't want there to be a prologue for the first book. I did have one in the early stages of the, the drafting, but yeah, that's chapter 1. That's what chapter 1 is like. So if it does sound interesting, I hope you read it. Obviously, the font is not going to be this big. I didn't, yeah. Like I said, this is the only chapter I actually did not write. And there's actually an error that I really, really want to fix, but I don't want to because this is what I call the sacred texts. Again, the video on my original channel will explain this in more detail. But how about we look into what some of the characters look like? So let me pull up a few pictures. Okay, so I have pulled up some of the character designs here. Again, these are kind of just thrown out there to get like a bit of an idea of what I wanted them to kind of look like. So this is Nyx. So this is just one of the costume designs. This is kind of what she looks like. I don't know what's going on with this right there, but yeah, so there's one costume. Here's another one I had. This one is actually the one I used for like the longest time. Yeah, this one's probably one of my favorites for just her character. And this is Agton. Now, I don't actually have a character design for her brother, but this is Agton. Now notice how it was green eyes in the original text. This was actually the thing I wanted to change. But I don't know, I'll figure something out. Because I don't want to edit the original thing, so I'm probably just going to change it once I combine everything into one chapter, which I've already done. So I'll probably just do that now. But yeah, he's supposed to have blue eyes. I don't know. He's based off me. My eyes, depending on the day, can be green or blue, so might add just one little line of dialogue that's like, wait a minute, I thought his eyes were this color. My eyes do change color, so it's apparently a commentary with Hazel. Again, another design for Nyx, because Nyx is the main character, so I'm like, I need to have... the main characters need to have a bunch of different designs, because it's interesting. My character, another one. This one's a bit more muscular than I wanted, because again, I'm definitely more of a lean build, so a little bit skinnier would probably be that. Again, I like lightning. That's just one of my things. And if you notice, the dragon wings are definitely a staple. This one should look familiar, because this is literally the profile picture for the second channel. So this one, I really, really like. This is my favorite of Nyx's character designs. I really love this one. This was like the best one I think that's ever been made, minus the sword. I don't know what's going on. It looks like a lightsaber, but yeah, this is my favorite one. Here's another one that's pretty good. This one actually has the translucent dragon wings. Like, if you look at the other ones, they're not translucent. They're like actual legit wings. That one's only got one. This was the only one that's actually gotten full translucent. So yeah, there's some of the character designs. What else can I show for now that isn't going to be like too crazy for spoilers? Yeah, I know what I can do. Right, so yeah, basically, I am planning on having 9 books. It says 9-book series, but, big but, I'm only going to do the first 3. I'll only write the first 3 because every third book has an ending that could be a decent ending. I mean, it does still leave an open door for more, but every third book I purposely left to where it could be a quote-unquote satisfactory ending. Be that as it may. So I got the first 3, which, if I'm going to explain this, you've got... yeah, so the first 3 books, just, I'm not going to give too many details and like, you know, I just don't want to give too many details. It's kind of a secretive thing. My close friends kind of know a little bit more info. There are more characters that do show up, but since we've only read chapter 1 and I've only shown chapter 1, those were the only 2 characters I'm going to show, because one, those are the only 2 characters that I have the most AI drawings of. I just picked the best ones to show you guys. Atten, for some reason, was super rough to get good drawings of. I have so many of Atten, but they're all just kind of garbage. But enough of that. Yeah, so I hope you're really liking this so far. I mean, this is chapter 1. I just finished chapter 21 today, so sometime throughout the week I'll probably have chapter 22 and maybe chapter 23 done if I'm lucky and I have enough time. So I really do hope you're liking these, because this one, if you notice, again, this one is kind of like, this build right here is kind of the one I was going for. It's just it doesn't show all of, like, this is more of like a skinny build compared to this one. This one, a little too bulky for my liking. I am not going to get that ripped ever, I don't think. This is probably about the most I would get, so I try to keep it slightly realistic to the modern standards, I guess I should say. That is something completely different. But yeah, I hope you're all enjoying. This is the first video I'm putting out on the second channel, so hopefully it all goes well. Obviously subscribe to whichever one is going to be putting out the content you want to see the most, because I'm going to be adding up the subscriptions for both the second channel and the main one and pretty much keeping them as one subscription goal. So again, I want to have 1,000 subscribers before 2026. So if I have, let's say, like 600 subscribers on my main channel and 400 on this one, I will count that as 1,000. So, you know, a bit reasonable. So yeah, again, I hope you're just having a good day. Feel free to comment any questions about this book series. I might actually do a live stream Q&A. I mean, I don't have the ability to live stream on the second channel yet because I don't have a lot of subscribers and I haven't fully set this up yet. But yeah, I'll do a Q&A sometime. Maybe after I release the first book, I'm thinking, because it's going to be done before the year ends, easily. I'm shooting for like 30 chapters, maybe 33 at the most, but I'm thinking I might actually be able to end it at a nice even 30, so we'll see. I gotta wrap up. I'm hitting the climax of the book series at chapter 22, so everything the book's been kind of building up to so far, we're getting there. So again, don't want to give too many spoilers, but I really love this book series. It's original, completely original. Well, at least I think it's original, because I based it off so many things that by the time I came up with the product, it was like completely new. So yeah, if anything was copied unintentionally, my bad, but I'm pretty sure this is pretty original. So yeah, I mean, if you want a little more insight on this, I planned this in 2018, like early to mid 2018 was when I started having this idea. Originally I wanted it to be like an animated series, but I don't animate and I'm not good at animation, so I kind of went from animation series to book series. And then I met a good friend of mine online and we kind of just talked, and then actually last I knew she was also planning on a book series, or at least wanted to write one. I don't know if that ever took off, but yeah, she helped me plan a lot of the things she wanted with her character as well. I bet you guys are really suspicious, like, yo, why isn't she helping with the rest of it? Like I said, original channel, I got a video on it titled Dragon DRW. So, you know, if you want a little more insight, you'll see there. But because Nyx is actually based off the friend of mine that helped me write this. So again, she wrote the entire first chapter. I haven't altered anything on this, even though I kind of really want to, just for the eyes. But again, it's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, the font is a bit smaller. I have it like Times New Roman 12 point. You guys know what that looks like. So again, you guys have probably wrote a lot of things. But yeah, planned it in 2018. I wrote the prologue sometime in like 2021. But I didn't start writing it till like late 2022. And then I wrote like 1 or 2 chapters. I think like 1 to 4 chapters, and I stopped. And then like 2023 hit, I was busy. I was in a relationship, so I just didn't have a lot of time. And then this year, I really just kicked off, like, the very end of 2023, and then into 2024, I just kept going and going and going. And I had a bit of a break. Once I graduated, there's a bit of a break, because, again, I started a YouTube channel. I went to a concert and all this stuff, and then, yeah, I've been on that, because I'm trying to get these first 3 books out before I graduate college. Having a bit of a break to see how the first 3 do. Again, I have no idea how to go about publishing a book. I don't know how any of this works, so I'll have to figure that out. But again, if you really, really want to, I could read every single chapter on YouTube. I think that would be a very unique content idea. I don't think a lot of people do that, reading a chapter. I could read a chapter a day. I honestly could probably start in November, read a chapter a day, and I would have my book finished by the time I would get to where I had written. So if that makes any sense. But yeah. So again, any questions, leave in the comments. Anybody who is seeing this, I hope people are seeing this. Again, I think it's a really, really nice book series. I've put a lot of years into this. 6 years in the making for this first book. And I'm always there for improvement, constructive criticism. Obviously, I'm still new to writing, so any suggestions or, things to maybe change for my next book. Like, don't tell me things I should change in the first one that I've already wrote, because that's not going to work. But, I've made sure to think about all these possible plot holes. But if you guys catch anything, like any plot holes, let me know, because I want to get them clarified and fixed for anything I didn't catch. I mean, I've caught a lot that I've fixed over the course of these 6 years of planning this out and taking notes. Like, I actually have notes right here on my phone. I can pull them up. If you want to know, like, a bit of a gist, this is a fantasy book. You're kind of starting to realize it. You don't really know within the first chapter. I mean, the book title is going to sound fantasy, so that's not going to be an issue. But you're still kind of getting the gist of it. It's definitely more of a modern fantasy. I didn't want to make it too, like, using fantasy old-time language. I mean, I tried to stick with that, but, it's... I tried to make it fantasy, tried to dip into medieval, but, it kind of goes in there. Again, I guess I'll give the names... What do I want to give the names on? If you want a bit of a gist, there's there's magic, there's other, races of many different people and species, and, there's a lot of things. I love it. It's great. I've been kind of ranting a little too much, but yeah, these are the characters. If anybody is an artist, actually, I would be willing to pay you to draw stuff like this. If you could make it this realistic looking, that'd be lovely. Like I said, there's an AI that I tried to find. Actually, I'll try to pull that up now, actually. There's one. This is like a more animated drawing of that one that I shown. This one I actually did today, and then that's another one. I didn't really like this one too much. But, yeah, like I said, I used that other image to base it off this, and this is what it came up with. I kind of like this art style, although I'm trying not to go for an anime vibe. It's not that I don't like anime, it's just, I'm trying to go back. Like, okay, weather models. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting. So, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in, for any of you that has tuned in. The people that I have sent this out to listen to, I hope you enjoyed it. Please reach out to me, because, again, I'm open to any questions that I can answer without it spoiling anything. You know the gist when it comes to questions with this. So, yeah. When it gets closer to time, I will maybe start posting a chapter reading session every day. If you guys want that, let me know. I would love to hear your feedback. This is a very open thing. This is why I'm doing this on YouTube first. It's probably going to be completely available on YouTube before I get it into physical copies. So, yeah. Have a nice day. I've got a lot of things to do. I've got classes tomorrow, so I should probably go to bed at a decent time. But yeah, enjoy, and sayonara. Subscribe to this channel as well as my original channel. Peace.